Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Vijana Bhagavan Girivarada Vijana Bhagavan Girivarada Yasudana Rajanana Yasudana Rajanana Sira Vanacha Tira Vanacha Jaya Radha Madhava Jabiha Jaya Radha Madhava Jabiha Vijana Madhava Girivarada Vijana Madhava Girivarada Sudana Chandana Sudana Raja Janana Tira Vanacha Tira Vanacha Jaya Radha Madhava Jabiha Jaya Radha Madhava Jabiha Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Good morning, devotees. I'm reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 555. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mutirayet Nasta Prayesha Vadreshu Tyam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamas Luki Bhaktir Bhavati Naistuki. So, let's, yesterday, His Holiness Sachinandan Swami read one of the most famous verses of the Bhagavatam. Today's verse is also a famous verse. Prabhupada quoted these two verses and also verse number 8. So let's get right into it. Parabhavastavara Buddha Jatu Yavanna Jigyasata Atmatatvam Yavat Kriyastavadidam Manuvay Karmatmakam Yena Sharira Bandha. The synonyms: Parabhava, defeat, misery; Tavat, so long; Abodhajata, produced from ignorance; Yavat, as long as; Na, not; Jiyasate, inquires about; Atmatattvam, the truth of the self; Yavat, as long as; Kriya, fruitive activities; Tavat, so long; Idam, this; Mana, mind; Vai, indeed; Karma atmakam, absorbed in material activities; Yena, by which; Sharirabandha, bondage in this material body. The translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. As long as one does not inquire about the spiritual values of life, one is defeated and subjected to miseries arising from ignorance. Be it sinful or pious, karma has its resultant actions. If a person is engaged in any kind of karma, his mind is called karmatmaka, colored with fruitive activity. As long as the mind is impure, consciousness is unclear. And as long as one is absorbed in fruitive activity, he has to accept a material body. In the purport, Prabhupada says, generally, people think that one should act very piously in order to be relieved from misery, but this is not a fact. Even though one engages in pious activity and speculation, he is nonetheless defeated. His only aim should be emancipation from the clutches of Maya and all material activities. Speculative knowledge and pious activity do not solve the problems of material life. One should be inquisitive to understand his spiritual position. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 4:37, Yatai dhamsi samidho gnir basmasat kurute Arjuna yanagni sarvakarmani basmasat kurute tata. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. Unless one understands the self and its activities, one has to be considered in material bondage. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 2, verse number 32, it is also said, Yen ye ravindraksha vimuktamaninas tvayasta pavada vishuddha buddhaya. A person who doesn't have knowledge of devotional service may think himself liberated, but actually he is not. Aruhya krichena param param tata patanthado nadrita yushmad angraya. Such people may approach the impersonal Brahman effulgence, but they fall down again into material enjoyment because they have no knowledge of devotional service. As long as one is interested in karma and jnana, he continues enduring the miseries of material life, birth, old age, disease, and death. Karmis certainly take one body after another. As far as jnanis are concerned, unless they are promoted to the topmost understanding, they must return to the material world. As explained in the Bhagavad Gita 7:19, Bahunam Jammanam Ante Gyanavam Mam Prapadyate. The point is to know Krishna, Vasudeva, as everything and surrender unto him. Karmis do not know this, but a devotee who is 100% engaged in the devotional service of the Lord knows fully what is karma and jnana. Therefore, a pure devotee is no longer interested in karma and jnana. Nyabilashita shunyam jnana karma dhyanavritam. The real bhakta is untouched by any tinge of karma and jnana. His only purpose in life is to serve the Lord. So Prabhupada ki jai. The verse again. As long as one does not inquire about the spiritual values of life, one is defeated and subjected to miseries arising from ignorance. Be it sinful or pious, karma has its resultant actions. If a person is engaged in any kind of karma, his mind is called karmatmaka, colored with fruitive activity. As long as the mind is impure, consciousness is unclear, and as long as one is absorbed in fruitive activity, he has to accept a material body. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurumiritam Jana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langa Tigirim Yat Kripatamaham Bande Shri Gurundina Taranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Mishwaram Panchakalpataruyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanavyo Vaishnavavyo Namo Namaha. See if I missed anything. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Taraka Prabhu. Yes, I actually have all these references from Prabhupada's purport. So let's begin. Let's begin by saying that Lord Rishabhadev is no ordinary person, is no ordinary king. He actually appeared by the tremendous desire of his devotee. This is a dynasty from Nabi, Priyavrata. These are devotees of the Lord, and finally the king wanted a son that was as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Vishnu appeared at the sacrifice. This is not common. Vishnu appears as a fire, but this time he showed up personally and said, that's not possible. I'm one without a second. There's no one, Asamorba, no one is equal or greater than him. So if that's what you want, I'll have to show up myself. So Lord Rishabhadev is an extraordinary personality, is an avatar, is Vivinamsa. It's not a limb, not a branch, not regular incarnation, is the Supreme Person himself. And now he had 100 sons, and he's giving instructions to all of them how to rule the kingdom, which was everywhere. And first he talks about detachment And don't be a Gyani, don't be a Karmi. You're not getting much out of that because of karmatmaka. Everything will be colored by fruitive activities. It will change the perspective. You won't understand things. Just like in the purport, very interestingly, Prabhupada said, generally people think that one should act very piously in order to be relieved from misery, but this is not a fact. Just like if you ask a person, what's the goal in your life? Oh, to be a good person, just to be nice, to be a good person. Why? Why is that the goal? Why should you have if you can get away with being nasty and getting everything you want, wouldn't you sacrifice being nice? The problem with being nice, there's no problem with being nice. It's a good thing. But like so many, for example, we see the diaspora of the Indian population coming to all over the West, a very successful diaspora. That is, they do well, they help each other, and they're affluent, they're educated, and they're pious, and they think that's it, we got it. We came to America and we are happy now. But piety is not enough. It's not enough at all. Why? Because you will have to suffer. You will be defeated. You're not going to be relieved from misery. And that's what everybody's doing. They're working day and night to try to be happy, which is just not really happiness. It's basically relief from misery. Because it's like if you ask a person over 60, how are you doing? Oh, nothing hurts today, or doesn't hurt so bad. And my memory, I can remember certain things. So it's basically a different scale. It's not a happiness scale. It's simply, oh, I'm not completely miserable today. So this is karma and jnana. Piety won't get you very far. Won't even relieve you from misery. Miseries will come to you whether you're pious or impious. So one has to transcend. And this is what Lord Rishabhadev talks about. So the only aim, as Prabhupada points out, should be emancipation from the clutches of Maya and all material activities. Maharaj was speaking yesterday about how to give up sense gratification. We have a rare situation where the miseries are diminished in the life of a devotee. The devotees are, well, things are changing maybe because this generations, the younger generation to my generation, seems to be suffering from all sorts of mental trouble. More misery coming from adhyatmika. Of course, adhibhautika and adhidaivika are there. They are there, very present. I don't want to list the number of miseries existing in the material world currently, but is notably higher than it used to be. I don't remember growing up and hearing, okay, now we live in a global village, so we know a lot faster about other places in the world, but I don't remember the quantity of floods, tornadoes, earthquakes, droughts, landslides, fires everywhere, and economic upheaval, and mass shootings, and shall I go on? This is wars. There always been wars, famine, homelessness. There's drugs. People are totally strung out. The whole streets full of them, whole neighborhoods, and poverty, this is the Adibhautika and Adidaivika, and what to speak Adiatmika, the misery that comes from one's body and senses and mind. It's terrifying. We had, before we arrived to Gita Nagari, there were 54 students came to spend a semester. I think they spent 4 months here. And I was told that in the interview that they had to basically describe who they were, what they did, and something about themselves. Pretty much they were all medicated. And this is a common thing. They're all medicated. And I'm not talking for headaches. This was antidepressants and just all sorts of things because of the torture of their own minds. So we don't have to go very far to experience misery. All you have to do is just sit somewhere or stand somewhere or watch something or read something or talk to someone. And this will be another source of misery you didn't know about. So it's a very difficult world to live in. So it's there's no secret that everybody's suffering. However, it is somewhat of a secret that the way to get out of this cycle is to be independent from the clutches of Maya, to emancipate, as Prabhupada used the word, from all material activities. And it's difficult, as we think, as I was saying, in the life of a devotee, these miseries are somewhat diminished to a certain degree. One is not suffering as profoundly, as deeply, as bitterly as karmis and jnanis do. And therefore, we tend to plateau. We tend to take it for granted. Oh, Krishna consciousness is nice. Now I can just sit and enjoy the vapors of it, and the pleasure of being in Krishna consciousness, trying to enjoy Krishna instead of giving pleasure to Krishna, which is the wrong mentality. And this manifests in so many ways. For example, when one is engaged in service, that is used very popularly nowadays, not my nature. How do you know what your nature is? You have to really be pretty much self-realized to understand your nature. So all other natures below the nature of a self-realized being is a temporary designation. It's not my nature, Prabhu. I can't do this service, or I can't do this other thing. I'm not suited for this, or it's too boring, or it's too difficult, or it's etc., etc. So as long as we are situated in the mental platform, whether we are karmis, jnanis, or bhaktas, miseries will come. And the miseries are, when one is Krishna conscious, I was reading an article that my wife sent me about obstacles as enhancement of love. This is from Jiva Goswami's Priti Sandarbha, that actually the obstacles make one go deep into Krishna consciousness and to loving Krishna even more. It's an incentive. Whereas for a neophyte, obstacles are impediments in the path, appear as impediments in the path of devotional service. But they aren't. They're actually enhancements. I should read you this article. We'll see. We'll have time for that. So in the life of a devotee, we tend to reach a cruise altitude and just put cruise control and kind of go with the flow. That, okay, we have reached that. But we forget why we became devotees. There are 4 types of people who become devotees: those who are suffering, those who want something, those who are curious, those who are inquisitive about the absolute truth, and whatever of those categories you have come from, there is a common denominator, which is misery. There is, even when you're curious, even when you're inquisitive about the absolute truth, why are you inquisitive? Because you're suffering. You want to get out of it. Even if you're not suffering now, you have arrived to the platform by the via of suffering. So suffering is an integral part of the material world. And when that stops or diminishes, we tend to think, okay, we're done. We have arrived. But it isn't true. When I went to the temple for the first, excuse me, I have back pain, so it's hard to breathe right now. When I went to the temple for the first time, the first devotee I talked to, they asked me, why are you here? And I said, because I want to be a pure devotee. And there was someone else with that devotee talking to me, and they were both shocked. They both were shocked by my statement. I want to be a pure devotee. Because that was the reason why they joined as well, probably, but they have forgotten. It was kind of became routine. And we all came to Krishna consciousness with, we found the right philosophy, the best food, good association, yada, yada, yada. But we forget that we came to Krishna consciousness to become a pure lover of Krishna. And how far have we gone? Of course, we can't really measure properly our advancement, just like a young person growing up cannot measure their own growth. It's difficult. Other people can tell them. So, but have we gone as far as we want to, as far as we need to? Because if death comes today, are we ready to say, oh yeah, I've done everything I could. I've made peace with my spiritual advancement. I've achieved as much as I could. So I'm satisfied. Krishna, please take me. No, actually, we will probably think, wait. Don't, not yet. I'm not ready. So we have to look at our life and see what do we have to change? Is our attitude, is our mentality, is our service, is our understanding of things? What do we have to change in order to make serious advancement so we don't have this problem that if death comes and meets us today, we'll have to say, wait, hang on, I'm not quite ready to go yet. Let's get into the rest of the purport. Prabhupada quotes the verse from a Bhagavad Gita 437. This is as a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, or Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. Krishna recommends that we practice knowledge, just like a famous verse 434. Approach a spiritual master, tadvidi pranipatina pariprasnena sevaya parikshantite gyanam gyanina starva darshana. And the previous verse, Krishna says that cultivation of knowledge is higher than rituals and all these other stuff. So again, Krishna, a few verses later, says that the fire of knowledge burns to ashes all reactions to material activities. But knowledge means you act upon it. So it's a dangerous weapon to have, because you have knowledge, but then you have to utilize it to give it to others and also use it for yourself. Then Prabhupada quotes the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, and this is a translation of this verse. Someone may say that aside from the devotees who always seek shelter at the Lord's lotus feet, there are those who are not devotees, but who have accepted different processes for attaining salvation. What happens to them? In answer to this question, Lord Brahma and the other demigods said, O lotus-eyed Lord, although non-devotees who accept severe austerities and penances to achieve the highest position may think themselves liberated, their intelligence is impure. They fall down from their position of imagined superiority because they have no regard for your lotus feet. So this is the aim. Krishna is always the aim of everything. And it's difficult because we have been practicing something else for many lifetimes. So once you get a bad habit, it's hard to correct it, even if you want to. I used to coach table tennis students, and except for once, I never rejected a student, no matter how bad they play, how bad their habits were. And it was difficult for certain students because they had very serious bad habits. Their motion, their strokes, everything was wrong. So I had to basically help them erase their muscle memory. And that's not a simple thing to do. They had to basically start over. And it's easy if someone doesn't know anything, but it's very difficult if someone has already bad habits and they strike the ball in a certain way. That is improper because they cannot make progress. If there is a bad habit, we can't work on that. So although there was an exception, there was a student, and maybe 45, 50-year-old man that after 3 lessons, I told him, you're wasting your money and your energy, and so am I, because you're either unwilling or unable to give up the bad habits. He just went to what he knew. So he couldn't modify, correct, and improve. So there was nothing I could do. So we have, most of us have bad habits, and we have to erase them and correct them, modify them, improve upon them, just make a lot of changes. And some of us are stuck. And we have such bad habits that they're very difficult to correct. Krishna is not the center of our lives. We are the center of our lives. That's a common mistake. That, yes, I worship Krishna. Like we often say, my deities, as if the deities belong to you, but you belong to the deities. So this is what we think. This is mine. This is my process. This is the process I've chosen. No, we have been blessed by Krishna in the process of Krishna consciousness, and we should be grateful at every moment. Try to understand that we would be nothing without the mercy of Krishna and his pure devotee and other devotees, not so pure, but just as kind and merciful. So Krishna consciousness has to be reestablished within the heart of every living entity if the living entity wants to get away from misery. This is a no-brainer, but it's so difficult. Just like George Harrison wrote the song, My Sweet Lord. He lost a lawsuit about that song. Someone else claimed that there were 8 bars or 16 bars that belonged to someone else before. But the lyrics of this song says, I really want to see you. I really want to be with you. But it takes so long, my Lord. It's so hard. That's also because we're situated in a frame of mind that think that this life is everything. Because if our life will be placed in a graphic against eternal life, it's like nothing. You can't even point it out. It's a bleep. But we take it so seriously. We have been cultivating this false ego for so long that we think, oh yeah, this is who I am. That's why I don't really take so seriously myself or others' claims about, oh, this is my nature and this is how I am. And really, we can't take it so seriously because this is just something attached to the false ego of this particular lifetime. And it's not very significant. It isn't. Going on with the other reference by Srila Prabhupada, this is from the, it figures in the Madhya Lila of a Chaitanya Charitamrita, but it's actually the from Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Anyabhilashita Sunyam Gyana Karmadhyana Vritam Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam Bhakti Rutama. When first-class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires, knowledge obtained by monistic philosophy and fruitive action. So free from all that. All material desires and knowledge obtained by monistic philosophy and fruitive action. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. Serve Krishna favorably. Yes. I never thought that I was engaged in monistic philosophy, which includes moksha, liberation, as a highest goal. And once I was at a festival, it must have been in Ukraine or somewhere. So I was in Bhaktivedanta Swami's room, and he's a brilliant man. He's a brilliant man. I'm listening to his lecture on Panchopasana, which is a brilliant introduction of why people do what they do through philosophical means and worship and ritual and so on. If you get a chance, I can probably post it at the end of this, at the end of a chat. And he said, let me look at your chart. So I gave him my coordinates, where I was born, what time, and so on. And he said, you should give up the idea of liberation. He said, you're too absorbed in liberation, like getting out of this place. I had no idea that I was, but apparently the stars knew more than I did, that one may practice Krishna consciousness to be free from material miseries instead of practicing it for the right reason, which is for Krishna's pleasure. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, if suffering brings you pleasure, then suffering is my goal. This is quite a high state of consciousness. Of course, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is a superstar in our firmament of heroes. And then the last quote by Prabhupada during in his purport, the verse from the Bhagavad Gita 7:19, Bahunam Janmanamante Gyanavam Prapadite Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. Samahatma means someone who is a great soul. And Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Krishna is everything. That's what a great soul is seen as. When someone is a great soul, means it has to be accompanied by their conviction that Krishna is everything. So the translation is, after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge, again the word knowledge, surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Knowledge is very rare because people pursue other things. Knowledge means something that is true, regardless if it suits you or fits with your plan. When I say you, I mean everyone. It's a generic type to way to address. And is a rare, a great soul is very rare. And Krishna says elsewhere in the Gita, out of many thousands, a few may pursue self-realization. Most of them are they're in the matrix, they're in illusion, they're completely covered, and they have no interest, even if they may have some few spiritual moments in their life, they disregard them as being not very important. So out of thousands and thousands upon men, one may practice self-realization. Out of those, hardly one achieves perfection in their practice, and out of those, hardly any knows Krishna. And knowing Krishna in truth implies there has to be knowledge. That's why we have to study 9 cantos before we get to Krishna. So you have a background. Like if you work for a corporation or for some business, and you have a particular function and you become good at it, but you have no idea of what your company does. Yeah, you're very good at making this, photocopies or whatever, but you don't know, is it a law firm? Is a manufacturing plant? Is this a government office? If you have no idea of what the full picture is, who you're working for. So we may be engaged in so many different activities, but we have to be very certain of what we are doing is pleasing the boss, and Krishna is the boss. I had let's see, where did I put this? About this verse, Anyabilasita Sunyam, is also from Rupa Goswami's, is also in the 9th canto of Bhagavatam. There is a translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada, 9946. One can understand Krishna, the Parabrahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only through devotional service. The Lord never says that one can understand him by performing mystic yoga or by philosophically speculating. Bhakti is above all such material attempts. Anyabilasita shunyam jnana karmadhyana. Bhakti is uncontaminated, being unalloyed even by jnana or pious activities. Even though the demigods have the advantages of being situated in the higher planetary systems, their minds, senses, and intelligence are agitated by material conditions. So see, even the demigods have problems. Therefore, even such elevated persons fail to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is eternally situated in the core of the heart. What then is to be said of others, such as human beings, who have fewer advantages? It is a fact that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always situated in everyone's heart. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridesya arjuna tishtati. That's from the Gita, 18th chapter. But because of our material anxieties, which are inevitable in this material world, we cannot understand the Supreme Lord, although he is situated so near to us. No one is closer, actually. For those always agitated by material conditions, the yogic process is recommended so that one may concentrate his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the heart. Dhyanavastita tadgatina manasa pashyantiyam yogina. That's the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam. Because in material conditions, the mind and senses are always agitated by the yogic procedures like dharana, asana, and dhyana, one must quiet the mind and concentrate it upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, the yogic process is a material attempt to realize the Lord, whereas bhakti, devotional service, is the spiritual process by which to realize him. Maharaj Kadvanga accepted the spiritual path, and therefore he was no longer interested in anything material. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, from the 18th chapter again, Bhaktyamam abhijanati. Only by devotional service can I be understood. One can understand Krishna, the Parabrahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only through devotional service. The Lord never says that one can understand him by performing mystic yoga or by philosophically speculating. Bhakti is above all such material attempts. So this is a rare gift that we get, just a hint of bhakti that is enough to deliver the living entity from all misery, and the misery will not go away. However, we can see misery as an incentive in our devotional service, or we can see misery as an impediment, and that's how you show your true colors. So I would like to live now from with this what Divya sent me about obstacles enhancing love. I will read that. I'm not exactly sure from whose lecture is this, but it's Parampara. If obstacles have a potential to enhance love, then obstacles are not obstacles. We are the obstacle to our obstacles and to our own potential to enhance love. This is now quoting from a Priti Sandarbha's Jiva Goswami, Anucheda 100. The love of the coward people feel for Krishna is the crest jewel of all kinds of love. When opposing things suddenly appear, that love does not waver. On the contrary, that love eclipses all opposition. When obstacles arise, that love increases. This quote describes the love of the Vrajavasis, which we hope to attain as our ultimate prayojana or goal of life. What is the nature of such love? That love eclipses all opposition and harmonizes everything while continuing to increase. Therefore, the purpose of the opposition is to increase love. Each time opposition comes, a higher level of harmony is required, and both beauty and love are increased. Another quote from Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur's Prema Samputa, verse 54 says, if there are sufferings like Sumero from this world, meaning like huge mountains, and the next coming from relatives, from others, from oneself, or from one's beloved, Prema, being very strong, quickly conquers them and becomes stronger itself, like a lion who is nourished and encouraged by the opposing elephants. If we are sincere, obstacles will never discourage us. And if they do, we must then look in our own hearts and see where we are not willing to grow. The obstacles are coming to make our bhakti increase. And the obstacle is not an obstacle in itself, but that is my perception. In reality, the obstacle comes to help me progress. So we must become heroic, like the lion facing the elephants. Lots of opposition may come from all directions, and verses like the ones above ultimately apply to Sri Radha in the Parakiya Rasa, where so much opposition comes on a daily basis from relatives and others in situations. But the result is that her prema is increasing continuously. There is one beautiful poem by Govinda Das describing how Sri Radha is preparing herself to meet Krishna in Abhisara, which means she's preparing to face innumerable obstacles again and again in her daily love journey. To prepare herself for walking over the thorny pathways on the twisting road at night, Radha throws thorns over her yard in the daytime and learns how to tolerate their pricks. She learns how to wrap her ankle bells into her cloth so that she can run at night without making any sounds. She throws water over her yard in the daytime to learn how to walk over slippery paths at night. She covers her eyes with her hands in the daytime to learn how to walk in the dark at night. She rewards a snake charmer with a jewel bangle for teaching her a mantra that will stifle the snakes that may attack her at night, and that will protect her from the attacks of wild beasts of prey. It is as if she is deaf to the words of her superiors, and she simply smiles like a fool when she hears the criticism and rebukes of her relatives. For Shamasundar's sake, she takes even unlimited misery to be like great bliss. Here we see how the ultimate expression of love, Sri Radha, is so willing to embrace obstacles. She is preparing herself to encounter anything that may come in her way as she goes to meet her beloved at night, being totally determined. We can see this as a symbolic representation of our situation as we go on this path to Krishna, as we go in Abhisara, facing obstacles, and have to go through our various dark nights of the soul, living our comfort zone and entering the unknown over and over again. We are being invited to prepare at every moment for this ongoing journey. So it's a very wonderful meditation to think that all these obstacles that we see daily, some people have more than others, or some people see more than others, even they're actually enticements to make ourselves stronger, just like going to the gym. If you don't lift serious weights, you won't gain any muscle. You will be just as weak as before. So all these obstacles that Krishna puts in our path is to increase our determination and kind of relinquish this bad habits of collecting material desires and patting our ego, which are detriments to our advancement in Krishna consciousness. So I think I will stop here. I will quickly, while any of our learned audience would like to comment or ask questions, I will look for those lectures on Panchopasana, if anybody's interested, by His Holiness Bhaktivigyan Swami. And I'm going to post them at the end of the chat. So thank you very much for your patience. Any questions or comments? And there is the Panchopasana list. I know perhaps I shouldn't have read that about Radharani, but I couldn't help myself. I had to share that with you because it's encouraging. It's encouraging to all of us to see how our life, which is full of thorns and slippery slopes, is actually, we could actually see it as enhancement of our spiritual muscle. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time. We only have 3 minutes anyway. And please stay tuned for this afternoon's lecture on the appearance of Sita Devi by His Holiness Giriraj Swami at 7 p.m. You can check the box in Gita Nagari connections for the link. And if necessary, I can send it again.
Hey, Prabhu, I'd like to thank you for a nice class. That was good. I accidentally ejected myself a moment ago, just as you were apologizing for reading about the activities of Srimati Radharani, and actually thought that was kind of a high point. I can't think of a reason not want to read such a thing. It's not like it's terribly confidential or something. The topics of Srimad Radharani are wonderful. And at some stage or other of our progress in Krishna consciousness, we need to hear about and learn about those personalities that we are. How will we come to love Radha and Krishna if we don't know anything about them? Swamis have written volumes on the activities and characteristics of Radha and Krishna, and nothing that I have seen, most of it, at least I can say, is not of a greatly confidential nature. That is something that we should maybe be hesitant to expose ourselves to prematurely. Mostly, it's all wonderful, suitable for devotees at any stage of their process. Hearing such topics is wonderfully purifying and provides also tremendous incentive to press on in Krishna consciousness. It is so sweet and relishable. But we want to hear these things, and at least I know for myself, I'm longing to hear the topics of Radha and Krishna. I love to hear their pastimes. And when I do get an opportunity to hear and add these elements to my memory, it very greatly enhances my whole experience of Krishna consciousness. I then see the deities, Sri Radha Damodar, and see them on the altar, and they take on an entirely new dimension. I realize that here are those same personalities that I have heard so much about. They're kindly presenting themselves before me in a form. But now, rather than just seeing their form, I'm appreciating their activities and their personality, their words. For a number of months, my wife regularly every evening listening to talks given by Indrajumna, who was, this was during the pandemic, and he was stuck in Vrindavan, which was, kind of a blessing. And he had the opportunity to, he had been given access to this, I forgot the name of the place, some institute in Vrindavan where they are archiving all kinds of rare scriptures, and particularly writings of so many of our acharyas and Goswamis as well. So you had an opportunity to read all these things and gather wonderful stories of Krishna Lila. And hearing those narrations was just absolutely ecstatic. It was so wonderful. And it transformed my Krishna consciousness. I suddenly, hearing Krishna's names and seeing Radha Damodar became dimensional, because I was now able to appreciate so much more about their actual personality, how their personality is manifested in their activities, their words, their discussions, their joking, and they are amazing personalities. They're extraordinary personalities. And we want to hear about their personalities and their activities. It's a wonderful thing. It's pretty central to our whole practice of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means, becoming conscious of Krishna. And it means, all of these things, not just the sound of his name, but becoming familiar with his actual personality, his character, and his activities, and especially his devotees and Bhakti Radharani in particular. It's by her mercy that we're able to approach Krishna. We'll develop our relationship with Srimati Radharani. We depend upon it completely.
Maybe I'm a little I'm conditioned because I was told very early in the beginning of my bhakti practice that Srimati Radharani was how would you say, like an off limits topic, just like Sukadeva Goswami had he mentioned her indirectly, Aradito, just the word, not even the word Radha is used in the Bhagavatam. So maybe I got conditioned by that fact. And when I hear devotees talk about Srimati Radharani and reading Govinda Lilamrita and Krishna Karnamrita and so on, it kind of shudder. It kind of brings a little bit of uneasiness to my life. Like I can't consider myself advanced enough to get into those topics. But yeah, this is not exactly perhaps some of the intimate details of her pastimes with Krishna is an additional enhancement of how to prepare oneself for loving Krishna by taking the obstacles as enhancement in one's pursuit of love, pure love. But you're right. I mean, why should we deny ourselves? If Krishna brings it to us, to our attention, then there must be a reason for that too. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, the books are there for a reason. They're there for a purpose. They were intended to be read. There may be some that are not appropriate for everyone, but they are the exceptions. There's lots of literature about Krishna Leela, Radha Krishna Leela in particular, that's perfectly suitable for any audience. In the case of Shukadeva Goswami, he avoided mention of Srimati Radharani, not because the topic was in any way taboo, but because he was unable to maintain external consciousness. He heard about or thought about Srimati Radharani, he would immediately fall into a trance of ecstasy, and he would remain that way for days or even weeks. And so if he allowed that to happen to himself while he was speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, Maharaj Parikshit would not have had the benefit of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam because his 7 days would have lapsed, he would have left his body, and Shukadeva Goswami would still be in France. So for that reason, he avoided discussion of Srimati Radharani. But Srimati Radharani is not a topic to be avoided. She's really important to us. And Srila Prabhupada explains that Lord Chaitanya is non-different from Radha and Krishna. They are both present in the first Chaitanya. So, Srimati Radharani is very important. Srila Prabhupada never had a problem speaking about Srimati Radharani. The one thing that he emphasized is that she must be regarded with the greatest respect. And so he had particular standards about how she should be discussed. And he himself would not generally chant her name other than chanting. He wouldn't chant the name of Srimati Radharani independently of Krishna. And it's encouraged us to focus on the Maha Mantra particularly, to become expert at that and not to divert our attention to other mantras or other names. So in Vrindavan, on morning walks, the uncles would always call Jai Radhe to Srila Prabhupada, and he would always respond by saying Hare Krishna. He would never say Jai Radhe. I can think of only one instance when one of his intimate friends approached him in his room at the Radha Damodar temple and said Jai Radhe, and Srila Prabhupada responded by saying Jai Radhe. But otherwise, if you look, you do a search through the database, you won't find any instances of Srila Prabhupada ever saying Jai Radhe. But he absolutely spoke about Srimati Radharani and wrote about Srimati Radharani. And he encouraged us to read the writings of our acharyas, many of which are full of detailed descriptions of the pastimes of Krishna and all of the residents of Vrindavan, including the gopis and Sri. Many of those pastimes are wonderfully entertaining, and without any very intimate aspects. There's so many wonderful stories of Krishna tricking various people in various ways, and the various exploits of Radha and Krishna trying to meet together somehow or other, and much of it is very humorous. All of it is wonderful, and what is the word? I don't know. It's just simply ecstatic. It's and so beneficial. We absolutely should not deprive ourselves of these things. Don't make the mistake of thinking that somehow or other it's off topic. There have been translating many of the writings of the Goswamis, and choosing particularly those books that are suitable for any audience. Bhanu Swami has translated a huge number of books. I've been collecting these things. I don't find anything inappropriate in it's all just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I recommend it really highly to all the devotees.
Thank you. Actually, you had me at it's okay.
Yeah. All right, I'll be quiet. Thanks again for a wonderful class. Don't really.
Thank you for enhancing a mediocre class. Thank you.
No, it was a very good class, and all strictly parampara, very, very good. Lots of Srila Prabhupada. I was able to tick all the boxes, so it was good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, devotees. Tune in tonight at 7 p.m. for Giriraj Swami's Nectar on Sita Devi. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gora Premanand.
Shivasam Guru Shishirada Krishna Guru Shalom Giri Ki Vrindavana Purnam Kita Kalakam Kita Shagaran Purnam Kita Gangamai Kita Unamai Kita Last Akali Samavet Kita Itago Primanande Glorious to the Son. Krishna, glories to the Son of the Lord. All glories to the Son. All glories to Shiva, the rundown, glories to Shiva. I'm sorry I just lost my voice yesterday. I won't be able to do the tour on Friday. Once this is in the Puja. Not overnight, we stayed yesterday came actually, so we're planning to do early evening. Porsche. We have time, maybe I don't know how to, but let's spend the strolls, swimming in the bars. Okay. Nice. Yeah. So that's and you already do that. Okay, perfect. We will be here at lunchtime. So around 1. Yeah, so then lunch will be 1:50. Good. Yes, perfect. Yes, now. We also, and there are like 3 you were like in touch with them and then actually courses and then within Prabhu was leading us, but we have signed up for 3 different activities and because of the better understand our here. We do looking for some things like we if it is possible, we want to do one activity at least because I think they all have paid for it. And if it is possible, that would be really nice. And I understand that like so many things going on, but to have something like that, but how we in the house, we saw that. And it's only no, we came to the S300. So we have that lunch and we were did a couple of things. We have a student critical fire and share for the circle training. We will go there from like where we want some kind of activity where we can learn how to like do we need to do something at meaning or how much I did what he's trying. That is they say I'm trying. I'm not sure coming back to this point, but it will be yeah. I guess it's a challenge. Yes, of course, it's usually done how the noise. Yes. It is serious change and children free business in the farm. And it's going to see the also. You know, we see also very strong for the house and voices operating. Yes, so the summer is involved in a farm. We can try to do one. So you don't see this, from outside. I understand all this is a cover. They didn't have one these small spread. Yeah. So we're going to okay. Something. Okay. And then I'm going to be done with us. Yeah. And looking for this, what also my absolutely program. That there's a flyer share just in case if you want to do something first, you just answer it like you want to do this. So for each 7 hours and so we have planning together. Should our lunch 200 saying you go and after in those are responsibility on if it's possible for the meeting task, if it's possible the people in that. Here someone to get so we discuss the suggestion the cheese how cheese can show us balance so because sometimes people have a very good cat. Great something. they were like learn how to make prasad and what was the, what was the intention kind of.
Yeah, those are my thoughts. Okay, but yeah, we learn cheese. I can ask a kind of question. Sometimes they'll bring in basil and eat cheese. But maybe that's not coming like maybe they can at least explain the whole view.
Yeah,
Choice and samples. Cheese. So that I can ask.
some of them even subscribers they live. They actually really good. Especially school salary, she wanted to enhance some more like if you can say if you have not really fine. That's really very good. Totally understand them. We are there really for
Like when we were helping us with our retreats, I think there's other devotees coming talking to us. Because our whole life is really lonely. And right now, we're really on so to take care of cows, we need these and then operation. We do us. So the cheese is flour, which is making cheese. So if not, it doesn't come to very much cheese, but at least you explain to me everything says. You eat different cheese. Again, what's the level of cheddar cheese? That I'm sure that 900 people
yes.
of course. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You know what? Yeah. Let's see.